Hey, welcome. Have you ever stopped to wonder what a wicked curveball, a massive airplane, and get this, even some medical devices all have in common? Well, the answer is this one really elegant rule of physics that governs how fluids move. So, yeah, let's dive right in. We're going to be talking all about Bernoulli's principle, which is really the secret relationship between speed and pressure. You see the pitcher throw a curveball, right? Or maybe a soccer player bending a free kick around a wall. The ball just seems to defy gravity, taking this crazy swerve through the air. So how on earth does that happen? It's not magic, I promise you. It is pure physics. And by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly how it works. Okay, so at the very heart of all this is a really simple but super powerful idea. It's a trade-off. In the world of moving fluids, and that could be air, water, whatever, you just can't have it all. When one thing goes up, something else has to come down. And here it is. This is that trade-off, laid out plain and simple. This is Bernoulli's principle. Basically, when a fluid, like the air around us, speeds up, its pressure drops. And you guessed it, when it slows down, its pressure goes up. They're like two ends of a seesaw. So the one thing you have to remember is this. High speed means low pressure. Low speed means high pressure. That's it. That's the absolute core of it. Now, you might be asking, why? Why does this happen? Well, it's not just some random rule nature made up. It comes directly from one of the most fundamental laws in all of science, the conservation of energy. You can't just create or destroy energy, right? You can only change its form. And for a fluid that's moving, its total energy is a mix of its speed, its pressure, and even its height. And this is how physicists write that rule down. Yeah, I know it might look a little intimidating with all the symbols, but don't worry about it. This is just a mathematical sentence that says the total energy of a fluid moving along a single path stays constant. So let's break down what each part of this energy budget really means. So let's translate that math into something that makes more sense. Think of the fluid's total energy like a fixed budget. It's split between a few different things. Its pressure, its kinetic energy, that's the energy it has from moving, and its potential energy, which comes from its height. Bernoulli's equation is just the rule that says this budget is locked in. It can't change. So if the fluid speeds up, its kinetic energy goes way up. And to keep that budget balanced, something else has to go down. In this case, it's the pressure. But, like any model in science, this one has its own set of rules. Bernoulli's principle is incredibly powerful, for sure, but it only really works under very specific, kind of ideal conditions. So to really get it, we need to know not just where it works, but also where it falls apart. Okay, so for that fancy equation to be true, we have to assume a few things. First, the flow has to be steady and smooth, not all chaotic and turbulent. Second, the fluid's density can't change. That's a pretty safe bet for liquids like water, but for gases under big pressure changes, not so much. And the big one, we have to pretend there's no friction. Now, in the real world, there's always friction, but in a lot of cases, it's small enough that the principle still gives us a fantastic, really useful approximation. So where does it completely break down? Well, think about anything that's actively adding or taking away energy. A fan or a pump, they're shoving energy into the fluid, so that constant energy rule goes right out the window. A really long, skinny tube, that's going to have tons of friction. A heating section, that's going to change the fluid's density. In these kinds of real-world situations, the simple elegance of Bernoulli's equation is just not the right tool for the job. All right, enough with the rules and limitations. Let's get to the really cool part, seeing where this principle is happening all around us, every single day. This is where the theory becomes real. And this right here is probably the most famous application of all, how an airplane gets lift. Look at the shape of a wing. The curved top forces the air flowing over it to travel a longer path. And because it has to cover more ground in the same amount of time, it has to move faster than the air flowing flat along the bottom. And what did we learn? Faster air on top means lower pressure. Slower air on the bottom means higher pressure. And that pressure difference creates a massive upward force. That force, that's lift. And it's what keeps a 400-ton jumbo jet hanging in the sky. It's incredible. A really direct, almost perfect demonstration of the principle is something called the venturi effect. The idea is super simple. If you force a fluid to go through a narrow spot, a bottleneck, it has no choice but to speed up. And what happens when a fluid speeds up? Yep, you got it. The pressure drops. Engineers are smart, and they cleverly harness this effect in a device called a venturimeter. It's actually genius. By making a fluid flow through a narrow section of a pipe and then just measuring how much the pressure drops, they can calculate the fluid's exact speed. It is a perfect, practical application of that speed for pressure trade-off. But the applications don't just stop with big machines and engineering. In fact, this very same principle is at work inside our own bodies, and it's used in some really critical medical technology. So, check this out. When an artery gets partially blocked by plaque, the blood has to squeeze through a much narrower opening. Just like in that venturimeter, it speeds up, and right at that blockage, the pressure drops. So doctors can use an ultrasound to measure that change in blood velocity. Then they use a simplified version of Bernoulli's equation to estimate the pressure change, which helps them figure out how severe the blockage is, all without any invasive surgery. Pretty amazing. And here's another incredible medical device, the venturi mask. It's designed to deliver a very, very precise concentration of oxygen. A tiny jet of pure oxygen shoots out at high speed. This super fast flow creates a zone of low pressure that, thanks to Bernoulli's principle, sucks in a very specific, calculated amount of the air from the room. That perfect mixture is then delivered to the patient. It's such a simple, brilliant design, and it's based entirely on this one principle. So let's just hit pause for a second and bring it back to the main idea one more time. It really is as simple and as powerful as this quote says. When velocity goes up, pressure goes down. Faster flow, lower pressure. That's the effect in a nutshell. And that brings us full circle, right back to our curveball. As a ball spins through the air, it actually drags a thin layer of air around with it. On one side of the ball, the spinning layer of air is moving with the main airflow, so it speeds it up. But on the other side, it's moving against the airflow, slowing it down. So now you have fast air on one side and slow air on the other. This difference in speed creates a pressure imbalance, and that pushes the ball from the high-pressure side to the low-pressure side, causing it to curve. Mystery solved. So what are the big takeaways from all this? First, the golden rule, say it with me, high speed equals low pressure. Second, remember this isn't some kind of magic. It's just the law of conservation of energy playing out with fluids. Third, this pressure difference is a force generator. It's what creates everything from the lift on an airplane wing to the curve of a baseball. And finally, this principle is absolutely everywhere once you know what to look for. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. This isn't just some abstract concept from a textbook. It explains why a shower curtain billows inward when you turn on the water, why two big ships passing close together can actually get pulled towards each other. The secret of speed and pressure is out. So now the question is, where are you going to see it next? Thanks for tuning in.